8 years ago, my life took a dramatic turn. It all began the night my husband, Tom, discovered my affair with my boss, David. Tom had grown suspicious over time. The late nights at the office, the unannounced business trips, the growing distance between us. He was right to be wary. And when he confronted me with the evidence, the pain on his face was unmistakable. There was no denying it. The affair hadn't been a passionate love affair. It had been a series of poor decisions born out of a period of dissatisfaction in my marriage. I had been with the company for 5 years, and David, who was successful, charismatic, and seemed to understand me in a way Tom didn't, became a source of comfort. What started as innocent conversations slowly morphed into something more. I convinced myself that the thrill of secrecy made it worth the risk. But I was wrong. The night Tom found emails, the proof was undeniable. He didn't shout, didn't demand explanations. The hurt was written all over his face, and I could feel his disbelief. He left immediately, disappearing for 2 long days. When he returned, it wasn't a talk. It was to pack his things and leave for good. The following months felt like a blur. I took time off work to avoid facing David, who I couldn't bear to see. Tom filed for divorce quickly, and I didn't fight it. I knew what I had done, and there was no way to undo the damage. I moved into a small apartment in a quiet part of town where nobody knew my name. It was a relief, but it was also a constant reminder of how much I had lost. The divorce was finalized in 6 months. Since we didn't have children, things were simpler legally, but emotionally it was a different story. Our families, who had known each other for years, were torn apart. Friends picked sides, some of them drifting away completely. The loneliness was unbearable, and I knew I had caused it. Eventually, I went back to work, though I resigned from David's company. I couldn't stand the whispers or the pitying looks. I found a new job at a smaller firm where nobody knew my history. It was a fresh start, but the guilt and regret still haunted me. I threw myself into work, trying to keep my mind occupied, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I had lost everything that truly mattered. Over the next few years, I worked hard to rebuild my life. I sought therapy to understand why I had made the choices I did, why I had sabotaged my marriage. I learned that the affair wasn't just about David. It was a reflection of deeper issues in my relationship with Tom. Issues I had avoided addressing. I had chosen to escape rather than confront the problems head-on. Meanwhile, Tom had moved on. He started dating again within a year of our divorce and eventually met someone serious, a woman named Emily, who was nothing like me, grounded, kind, and genuine. I heard they were happy, and a part of me was relieved to know he had found the stability I had failed to give him. 3 years after the divorce, I ran into Tom at a friend's wedding. It was the first time we had seen each other since everything had fallen apart. We exchanged polite pleasantries, but there was a palpable distance between us. I could see the remnants of pain in his eyes, and the guilt came flooding back. I didn't know if he would ever forgive me, or if I could forgive myself. In the years that followed, I continued therapy and joined a support group for those who had experienced infidelity, either as victims or perpetrators. Hearing other people's stories helped me understand the true impact of my actions, not just on Tom, but on myself as well. The affair had distorted my view of who I was, and I needed to face that. By the 5th year after the divorce, I had reached a point of peace. I had started a small business with a friend from my new job, something I had always wanted to do, but never had the courage to pursue. It wasn't a replacement for the life I had lost, but it was a new beginning. Around this time, I found out that Tom and Emily had gotten engaged. When I saw the announcement, a mix of emotions flooded me. Part of me was genuinely happy for him, knowing he had found the love and stability he deserved. But another part of me mourned the life I could have had if I had been stronger, more honest, and less selfish. Now, 8 years have passed. Tom and Emily are married and recently had their first child. I sent a card congratulating them, not expecting a reply. But to my surprise, Tom reached out a few weeks later. He thanked me for the card and asked if I would meet him for coffee. He said there were things he wanted to discuss, not to rekindle anything, but for closure. When we met, it felt like catching up with an old friend, but with an underlying sense of both familiarity and distance. We talked about where we were in life and how we had changed. Tom told me that although the affair had hurt him deeply, he had come to realize that we both had contributed to the downfall of our marriage. He had his own regrets about not being more attentive, about not recognizing the signs that something was wrong. While that didn't excuse my actions, it helped to hear that he no longer viewed me solely as the villain. He told me that he had forgiven me, not for my sake, but for his own peace. He had a new family, and he needed to let go of the past in order to fully embrace his future. We parted ways with a mutual understanding that we had both grown from the experience. There was no dramatic reconciliation, no rekindling of anything, just a quiet acknowledgement that a chapter in our lives had closed. Today, I continue to run my business, which has exceeded my expectations. I've started dating again, but I'm much more careful now, more conscious of what I want and need in a relationship. I know that true happiness doesn't come from fleeting excitement or distractions. It comes from the steady, intentional work of building a life you can be proud of. The affair was the biggest mistake of my life, but it taught me more about myself than I could have ever imagined. I'm not the person I was 8 years ago, and for that, I'm grateful. I've learned to be honest with myself, to face my flaws, and to work toward becoming a better version of who I am. The past can be changed, and I'll always carry the weight of my choices. But with time, that weight has become easier to bear. And I've come to realize that while I lost my marriage, I found something much more important in myself. And sometimes that's the hardest, yet most valuable discovery of all.